Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Wolves Report. I'm Ryan Lester, and thank you for joining us for episode 136. On tonight's show, we'll be giving you our, if you can remember, our match and player analysis from Wolves 3-2 home defeat to Everton. We're going to talk about Jeff's interview. We're going to ask what is achievable this season. We're going to rate the transfer window, look ahead to Newcastle, and take some of your questions. Back refreshed for some holidays. I've got Nocky and Tyler joining me on this Monday night. Thank you for joining me, gentlemen. Before we talk about Wolves, you'll have probably noticed on my social media, I'm going to have a little talk about what happened on Saturday afternoon at Compton. Wolves Report was lucky enough to be invited back to the Content Creators Cup, all part of raising money for the Wolves Foundation, who do some fantastic stuff in the local area. Edwards & Co were our main front of shirt sponsor. Thank you for them, for your generous help with that. Axe Solutions were our back of shirt sponsor. And of course, we spoke to Steve Plant's family to get to use his logo on our shirt as well, as a mark of respect to Steve Plant. The tournament was good. I don't think it could have gone any better. Wolves, fortunately, the Wolves Report, not Wolves, went on to win. It went down as far as the goalkeeper who took this fine penalty. And after that, he stepped up to try and save this one, which he finally did. Let's just get that back on the show there. That's me plodding along. That's me at full speed, by the way, boys.
Knees have gone. Knees have
gone. Dormitore's job safe, isn't it?
Let's just take that back to the start and have a look at his fine penalty save. Gets down, body behind. Well. Absolutely fantastic. And just to let you know, everybody, that hasn't been slowed down. That's me as quick as I can physically go now. But you know what? It doesn't matter, boys. It was a fantastic day. I just want to take a moment to thank all the boys that give up their Saturday afternoon to bring it home. It was amazing, and I'm just surrounded by a lot of good players, and I was lucky to be in charge of them. So yeah, some fantastic money raised for a fantastic cause. Also a nod to Dave from Always Wolves. This event has raised nearly £6,000 now for the Wolves Foundation. So yeah, proud to be part of the day. I'm proud of my team. Yeah. So thank you for all involved and the Wolves Report. Anyway, back to Wolverhampton Wanderers, Nocky, to bring the tone down a little. It finished Wolves 2, Everton 3. Your take, briefly, if you can remember far back to that game.
I mean, it looked close on paper. It looked close on the stats, but I thought they were a million miles ahead of us. I thought it was men against boys. We couldn't deal with Grealish. I thought he pulled us apart. His movement, his creativity, we didn't get near him. We couldn't handle the movement of Iliman and Joy. He was too quick for us. He was too intelligent. I just thought we lost every battle on the pitch. And I know we got a couple of goals, but that felt like a really damaging defeat, because it was probably the first time we've looked at it and thought we're genuinely not good enough. And I just didn't think we created enough. I mean, we scored a couple of goals. I'd say they're probably defensive errors as much as anything else. But we're not doing the basics at the moment. I mean, Agbadou with another mistake has cost us a goal. Andre with another mistake has cost us a goal. It felt to me like we were a championship team playing a Premier League side in the FA Cup. That's how it felt to me. I just thought they were a long way ahead of us. Mm-hmm. And we improved when we brought on the substitutes. They made a little bit of a difference for us. But all in all, it was a really disappointing game, and we just weren't in it. Individual errors again. The effort was there, and it's almost a bit of a rinse and repeat from the last few games, really. The effort was there, the work rate was there. We're just not good enough. And you can bring on Fer Lopez, and he did have a little bit of a positive cameo for us, but he's a young lad. You're going to get games where he's really good, then you're going to ever get games where he's just completely ineffectual, because that's what you get from a player of that age. So there was a couple of positives we could maybe drag out of it. But all in all, I thought it was a really disappointing day, and we're just not good enough.
Yeah, Tyler, for me, the main difference, as Nocky alluded to then, the movement at the pace, at the business end of the pitch, was night and day. The movement that Everton had. Now, this isn't something you'd really associate with an Everton and David Moyes team, but Wolves looked out of ideas in that department, and it just looked flat. And it's scary, like, just after losing a couple of players, to see that lineup and Everton's lineup, the difference in the final third for me was staggering.
Not for me, it wasn't, because when you look at ours on your graphic there and you compare it to theirs, when they've got, like Mark said, and Joy and then Grealish, doesn't surprise me at all, because they're far better forward players than anything that we've got at the moment. So if you add into that, they've got that now. So they've got that know-how at the back. I think Dewsbury Hall's a very good signing for them. Again, a bit of nous and know-how in this league and knows how it works. On with Mark, I think they bullied us. I don't like using that word really, but it was that sort of occasion. And, you know, you can talk about the Wolves lineup until you're blue in the face, but for me, when 20% of your outfield are Toto Gomez and Marshall Manetzi, I don't think you're going to pick up many Premier League points, unfortunately. And, you know, Manetzi and Hwang, yeah, fair enough, they linked for the goal, but they did absolutely nothing else for the duration of that game. And Fer Lopez was certainly a bright spark when he came on. He showed intent. He tried to get the ball forward. He showed maturity above his years. But again, Noki's right. It's going to be difficult to get consistency out of a kid that's just come over here. I know we'll come on to it in a bit more detail. I want to see Arias on his natural side, where he's played most of his career on the right. I want to see Lopez on the left. And like you've talked about before, Ryan, if we can get the two big front, you know, can we have some sort of style and tactic of getting crosses in, getting balls in the box? We've got two big punters now up front. It's almost like, for me, you've just got to go back to basics and try and grind out some clean sheets somewhere. I don't know how, because we're so weak at the back. I sound like Mark's PA, but again, he called it first podcast, we're going to concede loads of goals, and we're doing it. So, yeah, I mean, there's so many questions that need answering, but to answer your initial question, I wasn't that surprised, Ryan, because they've got quality in those forward positions and we hadn't.
Yeah, it's a real concern. But again, we'll talk about this a little bit later. Jack Grealish, on huge amounts of money, proven Premier League player. You know he's going to go to Everton and he will deliver. This isn't someone they're taking a punt on. This is a Champions League winner, a multiple Premier League winner. If you can get someone like that on loan, I mean, no disrespect to Everton, I thought this would be someone, a Spurs or someone else that was in Europe. To go to Everton, it's a catch. The difference that he had in comparison to us was off the chart. And this isn't a Jack Grealish show. This is like, well, they've managed to do it. And I know you always pin me on this, Tyler, saying, well, do you know, we should be going stuff like that. Unfortunately, that's out of our remit now in our wage structure, which is unfortunate. But we're going to fall behind further. And again, it's going to get tougher and tougher. So when a team like Everton, no disrespect to, are plucking out a Champions League winner and a player that's won multiple trophies at one of the biggest clubs in the world, or one of the best clubs in the world, you're going to be in trouble. And that was there for all to see. I just want to briefly just talk about all the goals in one, really. For me, sloppy on the ball, getting in behind easily. Yes, you can credit Grealish, but when there's balls being threading behind and they're square, there's a great finish from Dewsbury Hall. There's a couple of sort of tappings from the stand, the Grealish square and then the ball across. Just sloppy goals. I didn't feel like we were conceding when we were at our full tilt under Vitor Pereira. Now, that's not been for a little while now. Since Wolves have been safe, it's sort of drifted off. But defensively, we had that first game against Leicester, fantastic. We had the game against Man United, really good. And we really built on that. That version of the Vitor Pereira side now of being organised doesn't look like it's there anymore.
We've lost that confidence, though, haven't we? I mean, you look at Agbadou, he looks completely lost to me. He's got no confidence at all. He doesn't believe in himself. He's lost that swagger that he had. And now he's just very, very error-ridden, and the whole team are like it. And I think as well, we're being punished for every single mistake at the minute. And teams have been absolutely ruthless against us. We turn the ball over in our own final third and bang, we're being punished for it. But I think the reality is, you look at that 11 there, how many of that 11 get into that Everton team? I think one or two maybe, and that's the difference. The last few seasons, we've had a Cunha, we've had a Neto, we've had a Neves, a Moutinho, Raul, Traore. We've had quality in the team that can be your match winners. We've got
a maverick and a match winner, and that's what we haven't got.
There's no match winners in that team. There's none at all. And that's where the issue comes in. So they've got a Grealish who every time we turn the ball over punished us, and they've got an Enjoy who's, he's not going to get you 20 goals a season.
Direct, strong.
Yeah, good movement. He can punish you.
Forward areas on Saturday. What we didn't have in forward areas Saturday.
We just can't do that. And that's the difference between us and Everton. And when you consider that we were in the conversation with them for who was staying up, who was going down. We were in that mix together. They've left us for dead now because they've invested in the right areas at the right time and they've backed their manager, and we've done that. So it's not hard to tell why we're in the position we're in.
Yeah, it is only 3 games in, but it has been. I mean, I thought the Everton game was the one where we'd have to turn up and get some points. I thought that was the one. I mean, it's not shouting like about a draw, but come away with something. But they were clearly better than us. Now, Wolves finished strong. And Tyler, it's no surprise to me. I know your purist views and we agree on the way the game should be played. But you bring a quality footballer on and Wolves look a lot better than they did. Instant impact from Fer Lopez.
Yeah, he was the bright spark, wasn't he, of a dismal day, really. But you can't, like Mark said, you can't pin your hopes on him. You can't now be thinking, we'll go to Newcastle and he's going to start and he's going to be brilliant, because that's not just how it works for these young kids, unless, he's a generational talent, which we're probably not quite sure about that just yet. But he's probably the one in the team that should be having a bit of confidence. I think he's trained with the Spain senior team this last week, so he's obviously on their radar. It baffles me how Menezes has sort of started that game. I think you mentioned it, Ryan. This is the one we looked at to think, we need a result here. We need something to get us going. And you want those sort of players, don't you, in and around that? I think the general consensus now with Wolves fans around Menezes and Hwang, rightly or wrongly, is similar. I think a lot of Wolves fans are sort of thinking, well, what do they do without the ball? What's the impact? They're not doing enough offensively. And maybe if he had gone a little bit more gung-ho, potentially, it might have been better. Who knows? It might have been worse. But I want to see those sort of players playing, because they're the reason you go to football matches, aren't they? I don't go to watch Marshall Menezes run around like a headless chicken for 90 minutes. I want to see somebody get on the ball and try and make things happen and dictate play. And he was a bright spark, but it's how they manage him, isn't it? Does he start at Newcastle? I'm not quite sure he does.
Yeah, what does it say, though, really? I mean, again, this isn't an attack on Marshall Menezes. He does his best, and he played a big part for that, set an example of what you do off the ball last year, and it worked. But you'd have thought Wolves have moved on in pre-season. Clearly, he's not a really overly technical footballer. Granted, it was a nice assist, but you see, there's been some incredible stats today in terms of his run behind. He's in the top 1%, but equally he's in the top 1% of receiving the ball in those areas as well. So, what does it say about the window if he's in there? Are we giving? Do players need time to acclimatise? I don't know. This isn't like a slander on Menezes. I just don't think I think Gully mentioned earlier on, I think he's been bought as a centre midfielder, but quickly we've realised he's probably not he's Premier League centre midfielder. Could he play in a 3? Maybe, but I'm not sure he can play in a 2 with his distribution. I really don't think so. I don't know. But again, this isn't his fault.
He plays Saturday. He plays Saturday though, doesn't he?
Oh, it'll be the first name on the team sheet. And he'll play the full 90 minutes like he does every week. And if anyone can answer that for me, answers on a postcard, please. That
team doesn't look much different to that at Newcastle. I mean, the only change, if Strand Larsen's fit, he comes in for Hwang. Other than that, I don't see any change. He's not going to play that new.
But yeah,
centre half might come in for Santiago Bueno, but other than that, I think two changes max. I don't see us doing
we'll do the changes later on, but it doesn't look particular. I think after that cameo of the way he linked with the wing back.
The point, Doc, you've made is that he's done nothing at Bournemouth. Plays the full game. He's done nothing on Saturday at Everton. Plays the full game. You can't keep like rolling the same stuff out every week and expecting different results, can you? Ultimately, it doesn't work. He doesn't work in that 10. We all know that.
No, when you've got Acuna and a Sarabia and a Nate Nori, yes, you've got someone in there that's doing lots of movement and getting things going, but when you don't have that magic around you, he's then going to have to step up and create some magic himself. Granted, it's a good assist, fair enough. You can't knock that. But the creativity-wise, as you guys mentioned, when you're looking at Grealish and Ndai at one end, and then you're looking at Hwang and Menezes the other, there's a serious problem. And I mean this with all the good intention. It's not a Hwang slandering match. If he hadn't have scored on Saturday against Everton, that was a genuine 1 out of 10 performance. I mean, his finish was really good. He's took it really well with his left, and it's a great Menezes ball. I don't recall anything else he did that was good that game. Again, you know what my opinions on him. He was utterly very low standard. But again, what does it say about the recruitment of the last few windows? If Wolves are into the early part of the season and they're starting Menezes and they're starting Hwang as part of their forward options, what does that say about the club?
That's the ambition, isn't it? There's no ambition. There's no desire to drive it forward. That's Hwang shouldn't even be at the club. I mean, Manetzi, I get why we bought him in last season. He did have a little bit of an impact, and if you want to keep him as part of the squad, fine. But the fact that he's one of your first names on the team sheet, along with Hwang, that kind of tells you the situation we're in. There's just no ambition.
Yeah, it is a big concern. Not going to overly go on about that game because I'm sure people want to talk about other stuff now because it's a bit of a distant memory. We've got a big game on Saturday, a really hard game away at Newcastle, then an absolute crunch game. Unbelievably, it'll be 5 games in against Leeds United. That's going to be absolutely massive. But let's talk about the here and now. Jeff Shee put a video out in the last week, and I'm sure this is going to cheer everybody up. But now, there's 2 sides to look at this, guys. The club would argue, well, you want the chairman to speak more. Here he is, and he did. Fair play, he's come up. And no disrespect to who's doing the interview, because there were some good questions asked. However, I feel like there should be neutral scrutiny, from an independent person asking questions. Now, of saying, Jeff, is it a good window? Yeah, it's a good window. Well, I want a follow-up question. Why is it a good window? Can you tell me why? Why is it good from your side? What makes it a good window? Why isn't it? I want the follow-up questions. Now, again, this isn't a slight on the person that did the interview, because he's interviewing his boss, and that's never going to be easy. But equally, guys, if the chairman's telling me it's a good window, he's telling me he thinks we're going to achieve something special, I think you're just antagonising people and making people more aware that he looks like a person that looks a little bit out of his depth in that position.
Go on, Mark, you start.
He's just a total pudding, isn't he? He's just an absolute pudding. To come out and make those kind of comments that we've had a good window when we've had an absolutely disastrous window, and to say that you think we can finish in Europe, I just think it's absolutely ridiculous. Sometimes you're better off saying nothing at all. And I know we've moaned that we want him to come out and be transparent. That's not transparent. That's just lying, point blank lying to your face to make comments like that. I don't understand what he's trying to achieve. I don't know if he genuinely doesn't understand the game, or he honestly thinks that by getting rid of our top goal scorer, our captain, our first choice right wing back and our first choice left wing back, our impact from the bench, and then bringing in players who were substandard to what we already had. If you genuinely think that's a good window, then you're not fit to be in the role, because it's not a good window at all. It's absolutely crap as far as windows go. It's the worst window anyone's had in that division this season. And he's trying to tell us that his dream is to finish in Europe. Well, the only way we're getting to Europe is if we go on holiday, because there's not a chance in hell we're going to finish anywhere near that. So the fact that he's going to come out and point blank lie to us on that interview for 20, 30 minutes, he's not fit for role. He shouldn't be in the position. The guy's an absolute joke. Tongue
in cheek, but I just thought about this. It's the worst window I've seen since I tried to build my own shed. But anyway, I don't. But just to bounce back off you, Mark, and I do agree. A lot of these players make them good. But the point is, we don't have time. And I spoke briefly to Steve Herman about this earlier on. We don't have time because Wolves don't sign Premier League players. I think it was Dawson and then Sam Johnson were the last 2 sort of ready-ish Premier League players we signed. All these players need time to adjust. No one comes in and just rolls into the Premier League unless you're in that top 5%. So every season we're starting slowly because 1, we're late in the window, and 2, these players from other leagues need to get up to speed with the Premier League. So every year you're writing off like 12, 15 points, Tyler.
Yeah, you are. Yeah. What 1 win in August is it? I think something like that.
Since we got promoted.
And yeah, we had the same chat today, didn't we? There won't be 3 pub teams in the league this year. So when we went to Leicester knocking, it was Vita's first game. I think we had 9 points, but I think we were 4 points adrift from safety, and that was near Christmas.
We're already 6 off Sunderland now.
Yeah, it won't be the same again. If you're in a similar situation come this Christmas, we'll be well adrift, cast adrift from those other teams. So you are right. Time is of the essence ultimately, and whether we like it or not, they haven't got time to bed in. But that's why it has been the worst window, because other teams around us have done it. Even Sunderland have brought in some Premier League experience. Everton, we just mentioned, have done it. West Ham have done it. I'm not too up to speed with Burnley's and Leeds windows, but I think I saw someone rate it a D-, and the worst from that was Aston Villa's, and they've signed again experienced Premier League players, and we just can't compete with those teams. There was talk about us and Harvey Elliott. He's going to go to Villa, isn't he, because of where they're at. Jack Grealish, no chance of ever signing him. Even Dewsbury Hall, no chance of ever signing him. Can't even sign Josh Brownhill, whether we weren't interested. It's still a rumour, isn't it? So, yeah, I'm with Mark. Worst window ever. Jeff Shee, I wouldn't believe him if he told me it was Tuesday tomorrow.
For those listening on Monday, for those
Tuesday.
listening, the show is on Monday and it is Tuesday tomorrow, just to confirm.
For me, the interview is just irrelevant because I don't believe one word that comes out of that guy's mouth. So it makes it irrelevant. And I don't think I've seen one positive comment on the back of it. So, yeah, waste of time.
No, but if you're going to do that much damage to a squad, you've got to recruit better. Now, Wolf may turn out to be a good player in a 6 12 months. Maybe
great ball for the goal.
Jackson may be the same. The other side, he's shown little signs, but he's not going to be at Semedo's level. We know that we're not going to hit a Semedo or an Aït-Nouri level because that's completely unrealistic. But you've got to get closer. If you're going to lose the amount of experience and first team players that we've lost, you've got to replace them better. You look at Brentford, Django Ouattara gets them a goal, wins them a football match. Jack Grealish, all these players, Dewsbury Hall, they're coming in and making an impact because they understand the league. And there's so many people who say you don't need Premier League experience. You absolutely do if you're going to strip your squad bare, because you need that level of understanding of the physical side of it. And you haven't got time for players to settle in. So for us to do this amount of damage and to recruit the way we had, and then for the chairman to come out and do an interview like that, he's an absolute disgrace. And it's, as I said, he's not fit to be in the position. He should be removed. But to come out and say that and lie to us point blank to our faces is just, it's going to make things even worse, isn't it? Because the fans are already frustrated.
It might not be a lie, Nocky. He might actually believe every bit he's saying. Now,
that's even worse.
I know. Well, exactly. Now, what people will say, and I know the club will say, well, you know what, you've asked him to come out and talk. Well, not that he would come on the Wolves Report anyway, but as we talked about, we're doing a future common denominator special. And we asked if Jeff will be coming on, interested to come on and answer the questions. Obviously, he said no. I wouldn't expect him to, but you know, you have to give someone the right to reply. But what would be nice is if he sat down with a journalist who will question the answers. And again, this isn't being disrespectful to the person that answered the questions at the club. You're interviewing your boss. You're not going to give him a hard time. But I want him to sit down with someone whose job is to fully scrutinise every single answer. Like, again, those guys who did the podcast in the summer, they asked some really good questions.
Yeah.
Jeff answered that willy-nilly, but there wasn't the follow-up question. Follow it up, dig into it more. I want more detail. Get to the bottom of that and find out whether it's right or wrong, whether you agree or disagree. We've not had any of that, and that for me is a real problem. And I don't think that's going to happen, because I don't think Jeff will do that interview, because he knows what will happen. In my opinion. But anyway, let's hope we're proven wrong and he does do that. I don't see it. It's a difficult one. Again, the club will say, well, he's come out and he spoke. What more do you want? Well, I want him to be scrutinised properly. Am I being harsh there, boys?
I don't think you're being harsh, but I know I'm going a bit off piste. He is taking all of the flack at the moment. And I know we've obviously talked about it in our season. I'm sure we'll come on to Pereira in a little bit. But I do get the sense, the one thing I'd say about Shee in the summer, whether it's for the good or the bad, he has backed his manager. He's enabled him to bring in all of the backroom staff and extras that he wanted. He's enabled him to bring in the new director of football that I presume would have been a referral from Pereira if he's known to it. So I'm sort of at the point now where I think we know where we're at with Jeff, and we know where we stand, and we know what we're going to get. And for me now, the focus has to be on the footballing side of it between now and at least January. We can't keep talking about the same stuff, the poor windows, the poor August, playing catch-up. It's where we've been the last 3 or 4 seasons, isn't it? So the one thing I would say, like I said, I think he's almost backed Pereira to a point. And I think in the interview, was it where he said, although I don't necessarily believe it, Pereira didn't want that additional midfielder because he couldn't find one. Someone's telling Porky. So either Pereira is out of his depth because he can't find a centre midfielder that's better than Tommy Doyle and Boubacar Traoré, or Jeff's telling Porky's because for obvious reasons, as midfielders out
Yeah,
there. We've named two on this podcast tonight for me, and Brownhill, Xhaka, and Dewsbury Hall would all add something to our
Dewsbury Hall would have been I mean, we aren't paying that, whatever they pay, 20, 25 million, something like that, I don't know. But wow.
But that's the point. That someone's telling lies, aren't they? Because us three idiots have named 3 players that would come and make an impact.
Dewsbury Hall, an absolute dream, because he's the midfielder that we don't have that can travel with the football. He adds a goal. You know, I mean, he gets around a bit. You can put a tackle in, but he can take that 10, 15, 20 yards in front of him, which he showed against Wolves with a great goal and being comfortable. So, yeah, difficult one.
But who do you believe? Do you believe Pereira or she?
I think it's somewhere in the middle there. I don't believe Wolves were fully interested in Brownhill. I think it was more a case of Jeff, Vitor, are you interested? And he's like, well, not really. So there may have been an inquiry. I don't believe that Wolves were fully after Brownhill. I don't believe that for a second. But there is an argument to be had that if he's offered a player and he turns him down, I respect that as well. Don't just take someone for the sake of it, because he's very similar to what we've got. Granted, he's probably a bit better going forward in terms of deliveries and his goal returns from the other two that don't really do any of that at all. But I respect the manager not just taking someone for the sake of it. We'll give you a midfielder. I kind of get that from Vitor. I mean, the last thing you need is, just a gesture of a signing. I'd rather keep what you have than knowing what you have than signing someone that's just not really going to fit in anyway. Is that fair?
I think it's fair, but like you said, how can you can't tell me? The quote was something along the lines of, there wasn't a midfielder that fits the bill or meets the profile.
We're a Premier League team and the whole world is our oyster.
Exactly. We've got 2 centre midfielders who, for me, have far too similar a profile to play together.
But that tells you the budget, though, doesn't it? So, I mean, he would have had the names of who he wanted and those kind of players. But if they're out of our league and out of our ability to sign, and then instead he's throwing a Josh Brownhill at him and players of the level that we've probably just got rid of in terms of a Tommy Doyle and a Boubacar Traore, that's probably why he's vetoed them, because they're not going to improve us. But you'd be very naive to think that he didn't have a list of midfielders that he wants, because everyone can see how short we are in that area. So I just think it was a case of, these are the players I want, can't afford them, but you can have these if you want. That's what it feels like to me.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe.
I mean, it's unfair to say the manager hasn't been backed, because he has, but Wolves have kind of broken even, because obviously they've sold a load of players. We brought a load of players in. Good God.
Is that Jeff?
I'll train the dog that when you say Jeff, it does that.
Oh, my word. Well, anyway, that's another guest on the Wolves report. 1 week it's Nocky's dog, the other week it's Tyler's dog. This week it'll be mine. Who knows? This is episode 136 of the Wolves report with Chris Tyler, Mark Knock, and myself, Ryan Lester. We talked about the Everton player and match analysis. We talked about Jeff Shee's interview. Just rounding up on that then. I think when he comes out like that, I think it does more damage than good. Now, this is just my opinion. I don't know this for a fact. I can't imagine that there have been many people inside Wolves that thought, when Jeff has said that, that's a good idea, Jeff, you do that. I can't imagine anyone of the senior team at Wolves has said, Jeff, you should come and do an interview. It'll be a really good idea. It'll settle the fans down. I can't see that. You know what? I'm happy to be told otherwise, and I'm happy to be wrong. I don't believe.
Do you think he'd listen to anybody's advice anyway?
No, I'm just going.
If he'd have been listening to people's advice, he wouldn't have done half the stuff he's done already, would he?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I just can't imagine him coming forward and then everyone going, "This is a brilliant idea. The fans are going to love this." And you know what? You're going to calm them all down. You can. I might be wrong. And you know what? Someone contact me and tell me, well, at the end of the day, Tyler, he's the boss and he can do whatever he wants. He can speak to whatever podcast he wants and he can go and do interviews whatever he wants. But if he thinks he's doing a brilliant job, then we're in even more trouble than we really are.
The whole club's wrong, isn't it? I think we had a joke, didn't we, Mark? I mean, the transfer window's shut, no signers coming in, and then like an hour later you get an email about spending money in the club shop.
Yeah, free printing.
The whole club from top to bottom, and I don't want to sound too miserable, but I genuinely can't think of many positives at the moment. They can't even get that side of things right. You know,
it's just that's the timing. That's about reading. I get it's a business. You want to sell shirts. You want to do this. You want to do that. But it's the lack of reading the room, lads. Wrong time. But you know what I mean. put out in a couple of days or something.
Well, you do it if you have a marquee signing. That's when you
do
do
it
it.
right after. Yeah, look, I think they did it a few times in terms of their players' number and they knocked % off. Don't mind that. That's fine. But
sign nobody and then get discount on getting Wang's name on the back. Yeah, sound lads.
that's spiteful. That is. That's spiteful. I mean, it's a great finish of Wang, but my God, it was awful otherwise. Episode 136 of the Wolves Report. Mark, not Chris, Tyler, myself, Ryan, Lester. Let's talk about the summer window. We've sort of talked about it a little bit. Now, it may come good. Jeff might prove us all wrong and it might be a fantastic window. But again, we're signing from abroad. We're signing players that are going to need time to bed in. And percentage-wise, not every player is going to be hit. Arias, I think he'll be a player when he's up to speed. You can see that he's got a little bit there. Again, Fer Lopez that you guys have mentioned, I think there's a player there. I think because of his age, as Nocky said, he's going to drift in and out, but I think there's talent. Now, for me, the deal breaker that may be enough to keep Wolves up or not, because it's really close, I think Tolo is going to be a fantastic addition. I don't know your take, guys, but if we're going to go a bit more direct, this guy looks like an absolute handful. Nocky.
But is he going to play both? Is he going to play two big punters up top, or is he just going to rotate?
You can't play Hwang instead of...
I'm playing two big punters. I'm 4-4-2, so I'm two big punters.
Yeah, but he's not going to do that, though. Is he? Surely he's going to be one or it's going to be one or the other. So does it improve us? Because you're not going to drop Strand Larsen, are you?
You've just talked about finances. I don't see how Wolves are in a position to spend £25 million and that player
on a reserve striker.
Well, we did it with the goalkeepers, didn't we? We spent £10 million on Sam Johnson. Never played him again. I think they're more than capable of doing that because he's a back. I don't know, I might be wrong, but he's very rigid on his system, isn't he? He's very rigid on his formation. I don't see how he plays both of them together. I absolutely would. I'd go 4-4-2 or 3-5-2 or whatever you want to do, and I'd just bang balls in the box.
Yeah, I don't see the back three going as long as Vitor's here, whether it's a week, a month, 10 years. Vitor's sticking with the back three. The back four's gone. That's
working well, isn't it, Ryan? We look really ship tight, don't we?
I mean, I didn't say I agree, mate. I just said it's not changing.
But you don't. I just don't see him playing them both together. I might be wrong. I think he plays one or the other, and one comes in when the other goes out. So I don't know a great deal about him. You know, on YouTube, he looks like the best player in the world, doesn't he? But he's I know he scored the international break, which is good. I'm led to believe he's not fully match fit at the moment, so he needs a little bit of time to get himself up to speed. He's a big lad, isn't he? He scores goals. I'm just not sure that he plays them both together, and that almost kind of defeats the purpose of bringing in another striker.
What I would say, though, Tyler, with those two forwards, these are guys that aren't particularly going to make their own goals. They're not going to turn and break like Cunha did or pick a pocket like Sarabia and whip a screaming free kick in. These are guys that are going to rely on service. And they're guys that like service into the box. Tolu, he's a bit of a fox in the box, right? Far post, header, tapping. He's got that knack of being in the right place at the right time. Also been a handful linking the play. 2 goals against Everton, both crosses. Goals against West Ham, cross for Strand Larsen. We have to get the new wing backs or Hugo Bueno or whoever it is crossing the ball in. I mean, it's a bit old school compared to where we were, but none of this cutting back and playing it to the holding midfielder or to the wide centre back. Get wide, get it in the mixer. I sound like I went up in the 90s now, but unfortunately, that looks our best outlet now.
I've enjoyed watching Wolves this season for 20 minutes.
West Ham.
And that was against West Ham when we had
That's more than last season, mate.
And it was like a throwback to 1990s football. Yeah, and you know what? I loved it. And Molyneux loved it. And like you said, there was balls flashing across the box. There was 2 big lumps. There was just chaos for 20 minutes.
West Ham didn't know what to do with them 2 punters as well.
I know in this day and age, a Premier League manager isn't going to set you up to be chaotic because that's not the world we live in anymore. But you're sort of looking at this new signing as Strand Larsen, and you're sort of looking at Hugo Bueno and Jackson the other side, and
they can both cross the football.
And then can you get an Arias and a Fer Lopez just in a free roll? It sort of seems to make sense to me in that way. Leave, Agbadu, Totti, bit of pace at the back, which is what we talked about before. It just for me seems to make sense, and I don't normally agree with everything Nocky says, but I think when they're both fit, I see them both playing together. Because Strand Larsen's not going to want to sit on the bench, especially after what's just happened with him. And this new lad hasn't come here to sit on the bench. So
no way.
It'll be interesting, and it'll be a slight change in what we've done. But I think that sort of 3-5-2 or 3-4-1-2 might come into effect a bit more.
Who comes out then if he comes in?
Well,
If we go
Marshall
3-5-2, who do you think comes out?
Menezes all day, yeah.
I'm just not sure. I agree with you. I'd love to see that 3-5-2, two pacey wing backs, two holding midfielders, and everyone else just kind of.
Well, you have Arias as the 10 with the two big punters in front, and you make that little diamond in mid triangle in midfield. Get the wing backs on, pump the balls in. Arias picking up the scraps. Thanks very much. Mid-table, off we go. And that's not true, but like it sounds nice. It sounds nice.
We'd be more effective than we are now, definitely, if we went with that.
But this sounds really stupid. But what you've just said there, Ryan, is a very basic game plan. I've not seen a game plan in those first 3 league games from Pereira as in what we're trying to do. And we don't play counter-attacking football. We don't play possession-based football. We sort of pass it round at the bit and then we launch it. And that's all I've seen, really. And even you there have come up with more of a style and a tactic and a way of playing than I've seen from Pereira this season.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I know we're veering off the path a little bit in terms of rating the transfer window, but it may be a tweaking formation. And I don't really care what he does as long as we start getting wins. But you've got to get your best players in the team. And we can't be going forward this season with Hwang and Menezes as part of our forward line. No disrespect. I'm sure they're great guys and they're trying their best, but we need players who are good enough to win Premier League games. We're not spent 25 million on Tolo for him to be a sub 1 week and Strand Larsen the next. We're not going to give Strand Larsen a juicy big contract to sit on the bench either. Something's got to give. So whether that's a tweak in the system, I don't know. I know Strand Larsen's a little bit flexible in terms of where he can play, but I wouldn't really want him drifting off anywhere else because he's very good in the air. He looks a lot stronger. We saw the finishes against West Ham. He can finish. But for me, this is all about service. How are we going to feed these guys? I mean, if we do play that way, guys, we are going to be horrible. We're going to be horrible to watch for the majority, and we're going to be horrible to play against. But you know what? There's nothing better than winning football, and I don't care how it looks.
Well, at the moment, they're horrible to watch and easy to play against. So I know which one out of the two I'd rather have. And I know it's not a summer window, and a couple of people have commented, but Rodrigo Gomez is another one, isn't it? Whenever he plays, he doesn't let the side down. I think he's got 2 goals.
I think he's an impact player for me, Tyler.
Yeah, and I think, unfortunately, I said it the other week, and I still don't see where he fits in, apart from, you know, like you said, 20 minutes off the bench, maybe as an attacking wing back, either if we're chasing the game or, you know, just fresh legs. But for me, if we had 11 players with his energy, his desire, his commitment, I think we'd be a bit better off as well.
Yeah, he's fully committed, loves playing football for whoever he fought. He's relentless, incredible engine, reasonable pace, decent ball, knows how to get in the right place at the right time. But I don't think he's a starter. Now, you look at this, I mean, just carrying on with the signings, you look at Chachua and you look at Wolf. We already know they can cross the ball because from a poor start to the season, they've both got an assist. So, you know what, we know these guys can cross, so maybe that is the plan going forward. Maybe we are actually seeing what we're trying to do. Wolf with a great ball in, and I think Chachua got to put the cross in for Strand Larsen in the cup. So they are capable.
Goal,
yeah, that was a really nice goal to get them in their positions. Last but not least on the signings, let's talk about Krejci, left-footed, 6'4" centre-back. Doesn't look like he's an incredible defender, but looks like he's a very tidy footballer. And the one thing our defence is missing at the moment is a bit of composure. There's a few people who have talked about this. Is there a possibility that sort of, I don't think Krejci's going in midfield anytime soon. I just think he sees him as an option because he's so different to the other guys in there. He's not as bulldog and as ratty, but he's probably as nice a footballer as either of them, if not nicer. Does he come in for Totti? Is he coming in the middle? Where's he supposed to be playing? Or is it just genuine competition?
Well, similar to the striker, you're not going to spend that amount of money and put him on the bench, are you? So I would assume, I think he probably, he's left-footed. He's going to play him on the right. Is he going to play him instead of Bueno? And then because he
likes players on the natural side, doesn't he?
With Totti's captain, he ain't going to drop Totti. So unless he's going to drop Agbadu and put him in the middle of the 3, I can
only see put Agbadu on the right then, wouldn't you?
Potentially, but then are you then? Is it square pegs in round holes again? Then you're moving players out of their position. He's going to play. I'm pretty sure of that, and I think he'll play over Doherty. So it's going to be a variation of them 3. Totti's going to stay left because he's not capable of playing on the other side. So yeah, maybe we move Agbadu
playing on the left hand side. So
Maybe you move Agbadou right and you're playing through the middle, potentially, but I think the three of them are going to play.
Yeah, I think regarding all the new signings, you're not paying all that money for those guys. I mean, Wolves have spent a decent amount of money, but we've spent probably slightly less than what we brought in. So I want to see them. If you've conceded 7 goals in 2 home games, I think you need to bring your new centre back in. And if we're not scoring enough goals, then I want to see my new centre forward as well. So as soon as they're fit and ready, these guys have got to start, because we just can't carry on as we are now. Just quick rating then. Your score report. For me, it's probably, because they've left us dry with no experience there, I think it's a D-, maybe an E for this window.
Yeah, same. Totally agree. We just haven't got a spark. I think you could probably go through nearly every team in the league and they've got a bit of magic or a spark or someone that can do something out of nothing. At the moment, I don't see that we've got that in the team.
Agreed. Knocker?
I think it's a U for unclassified. I think it's the worst window we've ever had in the Premier League, in my opinion, based on what we've lost. I sound really negative today, I know that, but when you look at who's gone out of the team with Cunha, Semedo, Aït-Nouri, Sarabia, and what's coming the other way, I think it's just an absolutely dreadful window.
Yeah, so a U for you, an E- for me. Tyler, your rating on the transfer window?
I'll go D-.
Crikey, the most positive one on the show. I mean, what does that say for where
I
we're
don't
at?
agree with the quality, but I think they have tried to sign the players to back him, and I know I keep trying to bring it back down to Pereira. I want to see him do his work now with those players and that squad. We haven't signed like nobodies. They're all established international football.
Yeah,
and I'd expect more of a tune out of them.
And I do. One of the questions we'll answer in a bit, or probably the second question on, talks about this, and we'll talk about it then. But they all are international footballers, and he has been backed. But the problem is, with the way Wolves recruit, you don't buy ready-made. Now, this is why the results are they are in August, and I'm repeating myself here. But if you're not bringing proven talent that's not up to speed, then you're not going to get the quality, and the results reflect that. Look at the performances: flat at Bournemouth, flat against Everton, outclassed against Man City.
I'd say they are all proven. They're just not as good as what we've let go. The lads you're signings are.
I meant Premier League proven. I meant coming into knowing how to play this league.
Yeah, if you're talking about Premier League, yeah, but like I said, these are all international footballers. You know, the Krejci lads won the league in his own country. He's captained them. They're not nobodies. So we do need, in my opinion, to start. And they're not cheap, are they? Like you said, if we end up buying him permanently and Tolu, that's the best part of £50 million.
Yeah, absolutely. Go on, Locke.
But I mean, you're saying he's been backed, and I get your point. But the key areas was to replace Cunha, replace Aït-Nouri, replace Sarabia. Of any of the players he bought, yeah, but you're saying he's backed him. So has he bought anywhere near the quality that was gone out the other way?
But we haven't spent £5 million. On Fer Lopez was over 20 million. Arias nearly.
Yeah, I definitely.
We're not spending like 5 million, are we, on a player?
So I think you're both right in this one. Nocky's basically saying we haven't replaced them because quality-wise. Tyler's saying, well, we have backed him, but we've not. I mean, but guys, if you take away 4 of your most talented players and you finish 16th in the league, and all the players that you bring in aren't up to that level. We're not saying they're bad players, but they're not. I mean, I don't think Fer Lopez is as talented as Sarabia is yet. I don't think Wolf is going to be Aït-Nouri, and I don't think Arias is going to be Cunha. And if you do that and you finish 16th, you're probably going to finish 16th or below again then, aren't you?
But at the time of buying them, Wolf's profile is better than Aït-Nouri's. At the time Wolves bought them.
Yeah, that's fair.
Wolf is an established Norwegian international footballer. Ryan Aït-Nouri was an up-and-coming player. The difference is, like we said at the start of the podcast, Aït-Nouri had time to integrate, embed. Johnny was playing left wing back, trying to come in and make an impact. Cunha, in a way, was thrown in a little bit at the deep end. But when we brought the players before, and Mark's mentioned this on other podcasts, when we brought Neto in, there was a Jota and an Adama ahead of him in the queue. When we brought, I don't know, even Jota in, there was, you know what I mean? Fabio Silva didn't work out, but there was a Jimenez there. They were almost like the next one. We haven't got the position at the moment where they're the next one. They're the one we've got now, and that ultimately is why.
Yeah, but that's my point. But that's my point, though, is that we've had the ability to bring in someone who's at Aït-Nouri's level because we've had that level of quality to come in. If you sell a Matthias Cunha for, was it 62 million quid, and his replacement was 18, 20 million quid?
Yeah, something like that.
That is a massive, massive drop in terms of financial quality that you're bringing into that squad. And I think we finished 16th last season with, in my opinion, a far superior squad than we've got now. So we've reduced the quality of the squad. We've lost the impact. We've lost the impact from the bench. We've lost the match winners. But we think he's been backed. I struggle with
All
that.
right, here's a tongue-in-cheek one. Number 9s, are we better off this season or last season?
Yeah, we're better off now. We're stronger in that position.
Yeah, number 9s. Yeah, we're better than we were last season.
You're giving him two. You've given him 2 international centre forwards.
Yeah.
He didn't have that last season.
So that's one position then. So are we better at left wing back?
All right, centre half again. Same question. Are we better off now or last season?
Better, yeah. Them two positions are definitely stronger. We're weaker in midfield because we've lost Doyle and Boubacar. We're definitely weaker at left back. We're weaker at right back.
And Pereira himself admitted he couldn't find a centre midfielder better than those two.
Yeah.
So I've just said centre forward, centre midfield, centre half. You'd argue we're stronger.
We're not strong at centre midfield, but so what's to say that we're better centre half? Why are you saying we're better centre half?
Because I think Krejci is better than Santi Bueno and Matt Doherty.
Absolutely.
And Yerson Mosquera's back fit.
Yeah.
But you've already said, Ryan, that he doesn't look like much of a defender, but he's comfortable with the ball. So
yeah, but if he moves into the middle of a 3, Cody-esque, I'm okay with that because we've missed composure these opening games. Toti's been on his Toblerone foot problem instead of his brilliant defender. Agbadou's confidence has gone. Doherty's been dropped. Santiago, who's probably been our best centre-back in our last 2 games, I never thought I'd be saying that. So we need a bit of composure and having someone who's left-footed to add proper balance in there because Toti's not been doing that. I think he brings composure and calms them good defenders around him, hopefully.
I just don't think the squad is as bad as people are necessarily making out. I just don't think we're getting a tune out of them.
But do you think we're as good as we were last season?
No, and this is where it sounds stupid. No, because we had 2 Mavericks, and like I said, we haven't got any Maverick.
So there's no margin for error, is there? There's no margin for error. If we're not as good as we were last season and we finished 16th and we won 6 in a row to get there, there's absolutely no margin for error this season.
This is episode 136 of the Wolves Report. Mark Knock, Chris Tyler and myself, Ryan Lester. Let's move on to some questions. We are 48 minutes into the show. Elliot's the first up with a question. Elliot says, how did you get on in the Content Creators Cup? I don't know, Elliot. I just can't remember. You'll have to remind me. Oh, that's right.
Just put that picture up again. No, me and you aren't on that knocker, are we?
I don't do charity, mate.
You come on here every week for nothing.
Yeah, there is that.
Elliot's was our number 9 and scored goals this year and last year. So, Elliot, thanks for coming on and putting a smile on there. Not planned at all. Cheers, Elliot, top boy. This sort of links into what we're just talking about as well. Dickie H says, are we being a bit hasty in writing off the squad post-window before we've seen many in play and gel as a squad? I think this is a really, really good point. Now, we're annoyed because we've not bought players that are ready. And as Tyler rightly said, some of these players are good because they're international footballers. But the way Wolves do recruitment now, it's almost they're happy to write off these first few games because they hope these players will come good. So this is, I think Tyler, I think this is a really fair question from Dickie.
Yeah, and it's difficult, isn't it? You can't really answer it, can you? Because in a way, we are being hasty because we're saying after 3 games they've not been good enough. But my flip side to that is I don't know what he's trying to do with them at the moment. And again, that might change. But how you can sort of start a season, for me, so undercooked. And you know, people always say, pre-season doesn't matter. It's a write-off. They're just getting fit. Not for me. That's where you implement your ways of working, your styles, your patterns. I haven't seen anything.
But he didn't have any of those players then, did he? So you could say...
But it shouldn't matter, Ryan. You should still have... the first team, the 23s, the 21s, the 18s, they should all have an identity. And probably a very similar one for obvious reasons. You know, he's talked at Mane as being the next big thing. We haven't seen him. We haven't seen him in a friendly.
No.
And for me, it's just mixed messages. But we are being hasty because we're nervous about knowing what's going to happen because we've been there the last 2 or 3 years. So I think everybody's right to be nervous about it.
Nocky, on Dickie's question, I think this is a really valid point. Is like, as I've repeated this about 3 times now, but there's an acceptance that we're going to write off August and hope these players come good. But that's a Wolves recruitment issue, not a current player issue. So, do you know what? On with Tyler, I do think some of these players will come good, and I'm tending to agree with Dickie that we are being a bit harsh. But equally, if you keep writing off August, eventually there's going to be 3 teams that aren't going to let you catch up with them. And I mean, we're only a couple of points off. We're already 6 points behind Sunderland with an inferior goal average.
Yeah, I'm not writing them off. I'm just worried about the quality. I think where we've kind of caught a bit of a bloody nose this time is the teams who've come up they're not an Ipswich, they're not sort of a Sheffield United that we've had in recent years. They've all got points, they've all got a win on the board, and the teams that are just slightly around us, like your West Hams, I still think they'll get clear. So it's put us in a little bit of a sticky spot because Villa aren't going to finish third from bottom, are they? They're going to finish in the top 10. So that's probably why you're a little bit more frustrated. I mean, there's only 2 teams in the Football League without a point, and we're one of them. So it's, yes, you can't write them off, but what you don't want is for it to take 8-10 games for them to gel, and all of a sudden you're 8-9 points adrift. And
then your confidence, even if they do gel, then the confidence is probably dropping anyway. We could take if you're on the end of that.
So it's not about writing them off. I think it's about looking at the team as it was last season and then looking at where they are now and seeing where the goals are coming from and how we're going to kick the ball out the back of the net. So it's not writing them off. It's just whether or not we've got the time for them to settle in.
Yeah, tough one. Tyler, ending on that question?
No, I agree. We are, like I said, we are being hasty, but I think it's because we know what's coming.
Yeah, tough one. Dickie, it's a great question. Thank you for bringing that up. Next up is Paul. Paul says, "Are we up for sale?" And congratulations on the win the content, win at Compton, gents. Appreciate it, Paul. Thank you. Are we up for sale? I know this was talked about, suggestions. I don't believe it. I just don't. I think there's so many bits that Wolves now are doing separately. They're using the badge for the esports. They're making their own kit with Sudo. There's the music or whatever's going on with that. I just don't see it. And I think they'd have made enough money through, because obviously they own 20% of Guesty Few, and the transfers going through there over those 10 years now, or nearly 9 years, I think they've made a load of money now. And like the money they've put in, Wolves are worth way more than that. So from a commercial side, I just don't see it. Unless it was a gargantuan offer, Wolves look like they're worth about 350, 400 million pounds. Not a particularly large Premier League club in compared to Sunderland, but an established side. Just don't see it. I just don't see Wolves being sold at the moment. So, I mean, for me, I don't really have as much of a Fosun issue as some. I have a real Jeff Shee issue in terms of transparency, the way things are being run. That's my main issue. But do I think Wolves are up for sale? Absolutely not. Not Tyler.
I'm not as confident as you. I agree, but it's like anything. If someone offers you a silly price for your house, you probably sell it, don't you? It's like players, isn't it? Every player's for sale. So it's one of their look at Spurs. There's been rumours they've had a couple of bids, even though a club of their size. So it's always someone's always going to listen if there's a bid put in. But I'm not sure they're actively trying to sell the football club. But I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if it did develop over the next 6, 9, 12 months.
I'd be stunned as well, because looking at the value, like I said, it's about 400 million pounds. And if Jeff wants something like 600-700 million, it's just not going to happen, because I think our commercial growth has been nowhere near what's been expected. The numbers have eluded me, but the growth has been...
Like Mark Knock has always said, what they're worth in the Championship.
Yeah, it's minuscule in terms of what our growth's done. I mean, we know it's massively tailed off since Europe and the cut runs. But yeah, Paul, I don't think we're for sale. Knocky?
No, I think you both articulated it perfectly. I don't think we're actively up for sale, but I don't think they'd turn away if someone came in with a big stinking offer. But I don't see that happening.
Paul, thank you for being part of the latest Wolves report. Value point coming up from Cos90. The lack of investment in the squad is something he's worrying. However, the lack of investment in the stadium over the last 10 years, he's now downright neglected. Now, what I would say, back in the summer, Wolves have spent a lot of money, so I think they have been backed. They've just spent what they've brought in player-wise, not including Premier League money. So I think there has been backed in terms of what's been available. It's been almost a self-sufficient summer, but that's where we are, unfortunately. Regarding the stadium, though, I think it's a really good point now. Wolves from what I'm aware, I remember they started painting stadium the start of last summer, and looking at the top of the Billy Wright, they've still not finished it. So I don't really know why it's taken that long. Because
Nocky can talk well about the state of Molyneux, can't you? Some with your
oh no, but anyway, Nocky, talking about the standard of Molyneux, talk me through your spacious seats in the Steve Ball stand.
Well, I have knee ache every time I come out because my knees don't fit in the seat. It's falling to bits, isn't it? I mean, the Steve Ball stand in particular is just, it's awful now when you come in. The paint's peeling off. It looks tatty. It looks old. There's no room in the seats. It's uncomfortable. I mean, where I sit now, because I moved with my lad and my dad, and we're at the front row at the top of the top tier, but we're actually behind the goal because of the angle we're sat at, and my dad has to sit sideways just so that he can get his legs in because it's that tight for him. So it's not great. Is the priority to fix the stadium? No, the priority is to keep ourselves in the Premier League, and
you have a duty to maintain
you do
the Premier League standards, and that stand is not Premier League standards.
But they're not going to knock it down, though, are they? I mean, they're not going to knock it down and go again. The financially, they're not going to do that. A lick of paint isn't going to make it more comfortable, and they're not going to come and move the seats and give us more leg room in there. So I don't know what they can do if they're not going to decimate the ground in order to improve it. So yeah, you can stick a lick of paint on it, but you're polishing a turd, really, aren't you? You ain't going to make any kind of impact to the match day experience by doing it. So if it's a case of upgrading the stand or spending some money and keeping us in the league, then you've got to focus on the team, haven't you?
Absolutely. You just think back to those times when they sent out those glorious pictures, pictures and plans of what a filled in Molyneux would look like, and everyone was really excited.
But that's the frustration, though, isn't it? I mean, that's the frustration, is that they've never managed expectations. They've fired that out just after they made the comments around us being as big as Man City, and they've never comfortably managed expectations, the same as they've done now with Jeff Shane saying that he'd like to get back into Europe. You know, you're not managing the fans' expectations properly, and that's why the frustration's as devastating as it is.
Yeah, the worry for me, Tyler, I mean, particularly about the Steve Ball stand, is that stand, if I'm right in saying, is probably 45, maybe someone can correct me on the chat, I think 46 years old. That's going to need some real help soon. At what point is that stand no longer fit for purpose? Now, in terms of aesthetically, it's not functional, but it passes the relevant safety test, which is the most important thing. But at what point does a stand like that, you know what I mean? At what point they're going to have to spend a lot of money on that? How on earth do you generate the money if they're being self-sufficient for something that holds sort of like a third of our capacity?
I genuinely am surprised that it does pass any health and safety checks. Like, genuinely, because if you're taller than 5'8", you can't sit down properly in there. There's not enough room in the concourse to safely manage people in and out of the ground, especially at peak times. For me, it's an accident waiting to happen, and I think Greg's put on there 79 it was built. So 45 years old.
46 years old.
Yeah, like I said, I'm surprised if it does have any, tests or audits or anything done. I'm surprised it does pass, because for me, you said it's when it becomes not fit for purpose. For me, that stand at the moment isn't fit for purpose.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're not safety experts. If it passes the safety checks, that's the most important thing. The problem is you've got a 46-year-old stand that isn't. It's a real tight fit. There's cues that have improved, granted, but yeah, that's a concern going forward. Let's finish off there. Cos90, thank you for being part of episode 136 of the Wolves Report. We're almost an hour in now. Wolverhampton Wanderers face Newcastle United on Saturday afternoon, 3:00 at St James's Park, and I'm going. And I don't know why, but I just can't help it. That's just who I am. But anyway, this is going to be a really tough test. We talked about the players. Tyler, are we expecting pretty much all the new guys in now?
No, I think the centre half comes in.
Yeah,
I don't, and I think if Strand Larsen's fit, it'll be one up front with Manetzi again. It's not working, but I don't see him going anything different at a game like Newcastle. So I'd probably argue for, I can't just about remember that graphic you put up earlier. I think Krejci comes in, but I'd probably argue it might be for Santi, which I think would be a bit harsh on him. But I think that's what it'll be.
The only way that can happen then is because there's no point moving Krejci to his weakest side. That doesn't make any sense.
No, I think I'd play him in the middle.
You play Agbadou to the right and Krejci in the middle.
I would move Agbadou because, like I said, his form has fell off a cliff. But you're sort of hoping with him that it comes back, and maybe just shifting him to the right, taking him out of the centre, might take a bit of pressure on him. Totti, for me, is an absolute disaster class, as you know. I thought he had a real poor game against Everton. But like Mark said, if you sort of made him captain, you drop him after 3 games. I'm not sure, but something has to change in that back three, doesn't it? In an ideal world, Ryan, and if everyone's in form, I'm going Krejci, Agbadou and Mosquera as my back three.
Yeah, I don't think the captain's armband now carries as much weight as it used to. I think it's a nice gimmick, commercial. Yeah, you want leaders, but you have a group of leaders. There's various people that are leaders, and you can't just say I'm not dropping him because he's captain. That
how does he lead then? You say that, but how does he lead?
I don't know. I know he's respected amongst the players, and on his form, which you've not seen for a long time, he's a player that can stop anybody. But unfortunately, football-wise, he has been miles off it this season. And I'll stick up for him, but it has to be. He's been sent off once. He's made mistakes for goals. I think we're only 3 games in, so yeah, there's a real concern. Noki, for me, I like the idea of Agbadou moving to the right-hand side because you're freeing up Chachao then on that side of the pitch. Chachua, sorry, it's freeing up one of your genuine guys that can get down there with pace, and he doesn't really have to worry particularly much about leaving Agbadou one-on-one, because if one thing that Agbadou can do well is deal with people in one-on-one situations.
Yeah, I wouldn't be against that at all. Like you both said, we've got to do something different defensively because we're so poor and we're just so riddled with errors that we've got to do something a little bit different. So I agree. I think he comes in. I think you probably move Agbadou to the right. Other than that, other than Strand Larsen maybe coming in if he's fit, I don't see any other change. I think Menezes starts. I think we Gomez and Andre. You've got to play Jackson because that's basically the only option on that side. And then the rest of them picks themselves, don't they? I don't see any of the...
I don't think Strand Larsen's going to be fit, boys. And I don't know if Tolo...
Then he starts Hwang then.
Oh.
He's not going to start the new lad at Newcastle away when he's not. He's just come back from international
on that train tickets or not.
He's not going to do it. So he'll be Hwang at start. I mean, he'd probably start him anyway because he scored, didn't he? So
go on, Hwangy. Make me eat my words at Newcastle. Loves a goal against Newcastle. Loves it. Absolutely loves it. So who knows?
And an assist.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and an assist. And an assist for Newcastle if he's talking about that volley. What was the winger's name? What was his name?
Maximan.
Oh my God, I was
remember that. What was he doing then?
Honestly, I was co-comms with Steve Herman for WM that day, and Hwang's hit that, and they've equalised, and I don't think I've said anything. I don't know what to say. I was like, I don't know what. Or you just head it out for a corner. We've won the game, and he volleyed it in the wrong. Oh, anyway, let's.
It was like 93 minutes, wasn't it? As well.
Honestly.
The worst clearance of it. The last clearance I saw was that bad. Was when Rob Edwards chipped our own goalkeeper against Hull away.
Hull City away.
That was the last time I saw a clearance that bad. I mean, he's finished it well, hasn't he? But he's absolutely put it on a plate for him.
Yeah, it's an absolute button, but it's a stinker. Boys, let's move on to predictions. Newcastle away. Yeah, no, let's just do it. Tyler, Wolverhampton Wanderers v Newcastle. First scorer and prediction, please.
3-0. Gordon suspended, isn't he? So Bruno from midfield.
Noki.
I'll give us a goal because I've been really negative today. I'll go 4-1 Newcastle. 4-1 Newcastle. Barnes with the opener and Hwang with the Wolves goal.
I'm so excited to get on the train on Saturday morning. It's going to be a wonderful trip. And because of that, Wolves are going to go and stink the place out and get a 0-0. I can't even say we're going to do it. I don't even believe it. I'm going to say it, though. This is your home of the Content Cup Creator Champions of 2025. That's a little highlight for you there. Thank you to Noki. Thank you to Tyler. We'll catch you next week. Up the Wolves.